Hello, hello. This is Super Scudge, of course. I'm going to do a quick tutorial for the stairs clip, which is a clip used to activate the exploration glitch. I meant to do one of these a long time ago. In fact, I said I would and never got around to it, so now it's about time to do so. So yeah, basically what we're going to do is bypass the collision detection on these stairs a little bit at a time to get past them. I guess first I want to talk about layers a little bit. The layers in the game is very, it's archaic, you know, it's really old school. It's not very, very fancy. There's basically two layers, the lower layer and the upper layer. When you're on the upper layer of the game, the way it's designed, there's always going to be boundaries which prevent you from moving over top of the lower layer without transitioning down to the lower layer. For example, there's railing all along here. If I try to move here, the ledge is going to take me to the lower layer, and likewise over here the stairs will. But if we can bypass any of those objects which try to prevent us from moving into that area without actually transitioning to the lower layer, we'll be on the upper layer where there is no upper layer, and that's the objective here. There's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to explain the stairs clip now. So you start by just trying to find, well, you rub your face up against the stairs like this, and you want to place yourself on a very specific X coordinate, which is right there. As far as visual cues go, I use the sword a little bit, but that changes depending on what sword you have. It's not really consistent. What I like to use now is Link's left ear. There's actually a very nice and convenient vertical black line right here, which is perfectly vertical and really easy to see. Link's ear should extend like 1 pixel beyond that. I think maybe it's 2 pixels. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's really, when you get a good grasp of the cue here, you'll be able to recognize it very well. So basically you want to just kind of wiggle side to side until you find that exact pixel. And then to bypass the collision detection here, we need to move diagonal 1 or 2 frames. If we move 1 frame in, we go deeper, and then if we move a second frame diagonal, we don't move deeper into the stairs, but we also don't get knocked out of the clip. So 1 or 2 frames of movement is acceptable. And you can do that with select buffers, or if you're into it, you can do slash buffers, like that. And you just want to, after you do the diagonal movement, you have to reposition yourself on the correct X position. You can do this by kind of, you know, tapping the D-pad to move left and right. One of the annoying things here is if you do a single diagonal movement to buffer into the stairs here, you actually need to move 1 pixel back to the left to get back in position. But the first frame of movement that Link does leftward is 2 pixels, and the first frame to the right is 1 pixel. So you're always going to have to move a minimum of 2 times. You can never move just 1 frame to the left, unless you do 2 diagonal movements, and then you'd only have to move 1 frame to the left, like that. Let's see, what are some other important things? When you move left and right to reposition yourself, you have to be facing north the whole time, and you can only press left or right inputs. You can't move diagonal at all. You can't turn to face the left or the right. And if you move too far to the side, then when you try to move back to the other side, you'll just push yourself out and have to start over. Select buffering does work. Oh, the diagonal movement, your sword has to not be drawn during the diagonal movement. A slash buffer does work because the movement takes place before the sword is drawn, and then the sword just stops your movement. And a select buffer also works. So the left and right movement, the sword has to be out, and the diagonal movement, the sword has to not be out. You can choose to try to do it completely, like unbuffered, or with just slash buffers and wiggles, or you can use an item like the hammer. I like to use to do the left and right movements because that gives pretty consistent left and right buffers with the sword still out, and select buffers for the diagonals. And that gives you a very, very consistent approach. It's very unlikely that you're going to accidentally knock yourself out of this clip at any point if you do it like this, especially since you can move 2 frames diagonal. The margin of error is, I mean, it's very lenient. You know, it's hard to make a mistake like that. There's one other mistake you can make that you can recover from that I know of, which is if you accidentally do a lateral movement to the right when you try to do your diagonal like that, you can actually recover by doing a single up left buffer. You can slash if you want, or you can do the select buffer, but if you do that, then you won't get knocked out of the clip. You'll be exactly where you left off. You'll have to reacquire the X position and then continue from there. And then you want to move in, I think it's 7 pixels. You want to do 7 successful movements into the stairs for this to work. So I'll go ahead and finish this clip up so you can see the follow-up. Alright, so I went ahead and skipped the part where I was actually doing the clip because I was doing it slowly and you don't have to watch that part. But this is deep enough into the wall, or into the stairs here. So once you're deep enough, I've actually gotten past, essentially past the trigger for the ledge to activate. So if I move to the side here and walk across this ledge here, it doesn't jump me down to the lower layer. So right now I'm actually on the upper layer of the game in an area where there's not meant to be an upper layer. So yeah, it looks really funny because of the primitive perception of depth in this game. But yeah, so from here, once you got this successfully done, you can play around a little bit if you like, but when you walk into a wall like this on the upper layer from the opposite side, it actually behaves like a ledge would. So if I push against this, I'll actually jump down to the lower level of the game where there is no layer. So I'm going from the upper layer of the game where there is no upper layer to the lower level of the game where there is not meant to be any lower layer, which essentially puts me below the floor. I can show you where Link is here by turning off that layer. You can see he's in the wall, or he appears to be in the wall. And yeah, now if I jump, or if I push against these walls from the opposite side, the same kind of thing happens. The game can't put you in a lower layer than the lower layer, since there's only basically 2 layers. So if I jump against this ledge again, it will put me, I'm going to make a save state here, it'll put me on the lower layer, just right back in bounds, completely normal. So anyway, when you're under the upper layer like this, we like to refer to this as in EG, or using the exploration glitch. We use the term EG in a lot of different figures of speech. We use it as a noun, as a verb, you know, whatever, however we need to use it to explain. But when you're under a layer like this, you can basically just bypass all objects and go between screens. And generally anywhere where there's a layered room, where you can clearly see that there's 2 layers, you would be able to jump back in bounds. So if I come up against this wall, press my face up against it, I can jump back in bounds. There are a few rooms which appear to be designed like this, where they're actually designed on 1 layer. It's kind of hard to explain, but every once in a while you'll find a room that behaves in an unpredictable way. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You'll get the hang of it if you mess around with it enough. Alright, well that's how you execute the stairs clip to activate the exploration glitch. Hopefully that was explained well enough that you are able to go and try it on your own. And soon enough you'll be a pro glitcher at this game. But as always, as I always say, you know, most important thing is practice. You know, knowing what to do is really important, obviously, but you'll never learn unless you practice a lot.